We're going to keep the link open, Rick, now that I know what you're trying to pull off. And Anne, we've brought you into the connection. You're on the air.
Took your time about it, Mr. Allen. I was getting cramped in there. But I knew you'd trigger on my window of opportunity message. Like old times. Looks like you got the job done, though. Your stunners took down everyone in this op center. I'm activating the emergency wall seal to shut out the weapon. We got some pretty wet-looking instrumentation racks. Let's hope this stuff is still operational.
Nice work, Kay. Been a long time since we ran in together. I'm getting this thing into a hangar, and I'll cover your ass.
Infiltration's one thing. Working this gear in here might be another altogether. Computers all had electrostatic barriers. They're good to go. But it might take me a while to decipher the operations. Helen, are we clear on the PDA end? No point in my trying to get control of those satellites, only to have them shot down.
I've relayed your plan to Gertrude, and I understand she's passed on your message. They're in a holding pattern for now.
Anne, it's Adam. How exactly did you manage to get into that control room? I'm sure the automatics would have sealed the area as soon as Rick took out the windows.
I went interstitial, of course, Adam. The services level between floors. And yes, I took steps to make sure nobody could follow me in. The door and passage seals all locked up tight the moment Rick's missiles hit, and I've made sure they'll stay that way. It's just me and a whole lot of unconscious bodies in here.
Plus, a room full of equipment you probably don't know what to do with. What do you have in mind to try and decipher the rogue satellite controls?
This is a kind of makeshift operations center, Adam. Not like it's NASA or anything. It's more of a converted research lab. So there look to be separate uplinks from multiple satellites, each with individual feed systems. But near as I can tell, there's one central interface, and I'm looking at a security screen right now. That's my first challenge.
I beached my flyer, so I'm on my way. Kay, this Altus guy's a total wacko. A genius wacko, but still a major mental case. You can bet that interface is DNA protected, maybe even down to the keyboard contact. You so much as hover a finger over it, you might get your own dose of power sonics right between the eyes.
Taking care of that right now. Our mutual friend is sitting at the controls now, where he probably was when we crashed his little party. And I'm pulling his strings. Now, let's see if we can't get this security screen down. So, I spotted a scanner on top of the display unit, and with Altus's eyelids pulled back, the retinal scan took down the barrier. Now it wants a password. I got my gear, but this could be slow.
And the last thing you need is for Altus to come to his senses right in the middle of a sensitive procedure. And is there any way to speed up the process, to decipher his password or login code more quickly?
None that I know of. My decoder should get the job done, but something tells me this Altus had a thing for long, cryptic access codes.
I know this may be a long shot, especially given the remote connection, but I remembered hearing Jeremy Olcott talk about encryption and decryption as if it were a passion of his. So I've brought him into the connection. Jeremy, do you think you could help Anne get into this system?
I suppose at this point, with so much at stake, I need to offer any help I can, Lana. It happens that I didn't just dabble in this area. I was a professional hacker, if you want to call it that, before I joined WRAT. On the legal side, of course. And if you can pull the unit's EMET code from the hardware itself, I'll find a way into that little unit.
Give me a second, Jeremy. Okay, transmitting to you now on WRT Secure. Professional hacker, you say? I like the euphemism. Too bad it's not you in here right now.
Okay, code received. Listen, this was the only part I was good at, and in the end it was the reason I had to move on. For my part, I'm glad it's you in there, not me. Let's have a crack at this little baby, shall we?
And make sure you've activated the sonic systems on your floor and both adjacent. Looks like the remaining apostles are regrouping and working on an assault plan. I'd say from what I've seen, their grasp of tactics is none too great, but they have the advantage of numbers.
Sonics are all active, and I suspect the only way to shut them down is from here, so they'd have to kill all part of the building to deactivate them. Even then, this control center has its own standby power, so all doors and seals and all electronics will stay active. By the way, Rick, do you know where the main power is distributed from in this place?
I'm guessing you have it all worked out, don't you?
Sealed utility vault in the sub-basement. I wonder how the windows on the lower floors of this tower are holding against the water.
Hey, you're a devious little bitch, just like you always were. The water's up to at least the 5th floor outside. And you're telling me all those floors are flooded.
Flooded, shorted, electrically unsafe. Main power access not an option then. Jeremy, you're a genius. We're in.
Thank your friend Altus. Apocalypse Engineer 1 is hardly original. Can you decipher what this control interface means now, Anne?
You betcha. Let's send the retro code out to a few winged messengers.
Work your magic, little lady. I pissed off a few apostles on the floor below you. They won't be pestering you anytime soon. Making my way up to your level now.
1 bird redirected, 7 to go. I'm getting a little...
Son of a bitch! Hey, son of a bitch is awake!
And a few others too. Rick, I think they've unlocked the doors. Need your help, buddy. Like, now.
In the vicinity, Kay. Keep your head down. I'm packing.
Loud and clear. Damn glad I pulled the guns off most of those bastards when I first came in.
How many in there with you? Let's set up a pattern.
About 8 now. I've taken down 4, including Altus. And since he's at my feet, they're being cautious. On entry, hit the right side. I'll do the others from here.
On it.
Get that door sealed again, Rick. We might still have others on the upper floor who'd be very glad to take us out.
Just get back on that computer with your best buddy, Anne. I'll take care of this end.
Now, Dr. Ferguson, where were we? Yeah, I remember. Just making sure you understand. Now. That's 2. 3. 4. And 5. There's 6. 7. All done. We have reversal, Houston. All birds now being directed to slow the air pumping. Over to you, Helen. Tell us this was worth it.
Anne, Rick, Jeremy, we're switching over to Gertrude, who's in contact with the Global Bureau, as well as Planetary Defense. Gertrude, can you give us a status update?
This is WRAT meteorologist Gertrude Schwager. Helen, we have noticed an immediate apparent effect on Zulu 11's potency as a result of the change in the satellites. But to gain a more direct picture of this change, I have connected once again with Dr. Jean Devreau in Montreal, as well as with Acting Captain Kelsey Miller, who is in charge of orbiting space platform SP-73, which is part of the Planetary Defense Agency's defensive fleet. First of all, welcome to you, Captain Miller. I know you should have a bird's-eye view of Zulu 11 from your vantage point. Can you give us a sense of how the storm has been affected by the recent changes?
The world needs to know, Gertrude, that the Eye of Zulu 11 is in the process of imploding on itself. We're sitting directly above the center of the storm, and what we're witnessing is a truly humbling and awe-inspiring transformation. No satellite pumps could affect this behemoth so drastically, no so rapidly. It's like the satellites were the trigger, the pebble that set off the avalanche. just as they were probably the catalyst for Zulu 11's unnatural growth. They appear to have initiated its dramatic collapse.
And our ground-based sensor network, that part of it which is still operational, confirms this observation, Gertrude. It would seem that, as Captain Miller reports, the satellite pumping reversal has resulted in an almost instantaneous shutdown of Zulu 11's assault. Our readings indicate that wind speeds have dropped by nearly 50% and continue to plummet. The storm was until a few moments ago threatening to breach that final thermal barrier into the mesosphere and flash freeze much of the planet in a kind of instant ice age event. We now register a complete closure of that conduit. Whatever power was brought to bear on this storm, it could not, in my view, have been simply the meager thermal transfer changes caused by the reversal of those pumps.
And if you could see it from here, you would see exactly what we mean. There's no power on Earth that could have defused the threat. Yet within minutes of those pumps being redirected, the entire storm pattern, the spiral, the eye, the vertical column stretching into the atmosphere, it's all gone, as if Zulu 11 had never been. Even up here in orbit, we were listening to the broadcast as Ann Kelso reversed those pumps. From us to you, Ann, thank you.
I think we all owe Anne and Rick our thanks. And I will now express our thanks once again to Dr. Jean Devereaux and to Captain Kelsey Miller for confirming our miraculous salvation. It seems that the inhabitants of Earth may live to see another tomorrow after all. Helen, back to you.